on behind, churning up the water. But look at the gap between Oxford, less fancied, and the favourites Cambridge. And can the light blues? It would be a remarkable turnaround if they could come back from here. But the Oxford president, Ben Myers, sunglasses on his head, who was in the losing boat last year, and Alec Dent and Ben Ellison, Carl Hudspeth, the tallest man, and Constantine Laludis, George Whittaker and Simon Hislop are doing everything that is being asked of them and more.
So remorseless. Both crews now at 34 strokes a minute, 34.5 strokes a minute. Really very, very strong in this second half. They're past halfway. They're coming up to the last bit of advantage of the Surrey side. The advantage has to move to the right-hand side, to the Middlesex side, but it's of no consequence anymore because Oxford can choose whichever way they want to go on the way home. They can choose their route.
It's so hard for Cambridge because when there's no overlap, you can't see and can't believe that you might bring things back. Let's listen to Liz Box again.
Now, we go 1%, 10 to 10, 10, hook. Now, hook, flow, hook, flow, hook, flow, hook, flow.
The voice of Liz Box, and she is the only one who can encourage her crew that there is still a chance, still hope of closing this gap. She can see Oxford, they cannot. There are the times to Chiswick Steps, and a 7-second lead for Oxford, which is a big lead indeed.
That's 9:58. That's very, very fast. That was the record time, but 11:47.
Well, that equals the record time, yes. Cambridge in 98, 9 minutes 58. So an amazing pace being set by the Dark Blues.
They've got 7 minutes to go. You can see now just up ahead, the big corner now, starting on the Middlesex side, on the right-hand side. But it's now nearly 3 lengths that Oxford are leading. They're taking a slightly tighter line on the corner there. But Cambridge have a lot to do here. And I think you'll find that after last year, where Oxford really had started as favourites and got caught at Hammersmith Bridge, that was not going to happen again.
Back down to Wayne Pollman once more.
This is where it gets very difficult for Cambridge right now. They're at that stage where the crew in front of them has so much gap that they can't hear them anymore. They can't tell how close they are. It gets very demoralizing. As far as they know, Oxford could be a mile in front. The only thing they have to go on is relying on the Cox, Liz Box, to tell them that maybe they still have a chance. So they really need to dig in here in the next 2 minutes if they're going to have any chance.
So the houses in the front of Barnes hove into view, and there is the gap. Up towards the bandstand on the right-hand side, heading in towards the latter stages of the race, and it's grim work for Cambridge indeed, and Liz Box trying to do her best, but that gap is not closing. If anything, it's getting a little bit wider.
And Oxford at 32 strokes a minute, with 4 minutes to go from the bandstand there. They're at 32 strokes a minute, Cambridge at 34 strokes a minute, trying to do more there, but there's just good power coming down from the Oxford boat, which is giving them a lot of travel there. Interesting, this will be the first time that boat race could be won by a crew with a tandem rig there, which people were questioning the choice of this tandem rig, where you've got 4 and 5 on the same side there on bow side, and then the bowman, who is a normal stroke side rower, sitting at bow rowing on the stroke side up in the bow seat. That's unusual, and it's obviously had a very, very important effect.
The difference between the two crews, again, the noise of the crowd roars them on, but all the cheers are coming from those who favour the dark blue, because Oxford are in control as they head towards Barnes Bridge. Both crews have to shoot the central arch of Barnes Bridge, and only a couple of crews have come from behind at Barnes Bridge, but nobody from this lead that Oxford have built. And they are heading towards victory. Barely 3/4 of a mile to go from Barnes Railway Bridge. And Oxford sailed serenely, it seems, through the central span.
3 minutes to go from the bridge here. 3 minutes to go. It'll be glorious for Oxford. But even, when you're in the boat, you're just thinking, make sure no mistakes, no mistakes. The worry is that you might start to feel that you've got it won and you don't really have to think about it anymore. Every bit of focus will be in this boat for this last 2 3/4 minutes.
And listen to the noise from the crowd as they have sat and waited for the two main crews to come past, and they see Oxford sail past, and then 8 seconds later, Cambridge. It has been an utterly dominant performance from the Dark Blues. And for Cambridge, in pain, it is only pain for them. For Oxford there's pain, but the knowledge that they are going to win once again. For Cambridge it is just hard work. Their body's telling them to stop, and they don't believe they can close the gap. They can't now. The victory is coming. Chiswick Bridge is calling for them, beckoning them home.
Minute and a half to go. They're halfway around this corner. A minute and a half to go. Oxford are at a very, very cool 34 strokes a minute. Cambridge at 36, still fighting very bravely to try and get back on terms. But the power is in this Oxford crew, and it's been remorseless. Right the way through this race, they've just opened up and opened up all the way through the race, and really got that lead at before Hammersmith Bridge and just improved on it.
Oxford then heading towards victory. It is all but certain. There is Chiswick Bridge at the top of your picture, and the finish line sits just before that. The brewery on the left-hand side, and Sam Winterlevy does his work again, shouting, not letting up. They will not let up, Oxford. This has been a race, a performance of utter control. Power from the start. They didn't go out too quickly, though. They've had plenty left in reserve. Not one of the closest races, but one of the finest performances we have seen from any crew. They have kept Cambridge at bay.
Interestingly, that Oxford have stayed quite wide around this last corner. On the left-hand side, they've taken the corner quite wide. Cambridge have closed in onto that station very much, onto that side of the river, and it's this really now into the last minute as they move into the finishing line.
Cambridge still with a slightly higher stroke rate, but into the final straight they come. And the pace, of course, from Oxford has dropped slightly. Hunched figures, tired, but their job is almost done.
2, 1,
and the gap remains a considerable lead. It's going to be a handsome victory for Oxford. They began the race less fancied, but as it went on, they simply grew in strength. And after defeat last year in 2011, the Thames belongs to Oxford. To them, the victory, the smiles, the celebrations, the spoils, everything is theirs. And Cambridge have what is left. Utterly dominated from start to finish.
And we're about four lengths, about 14 seconds there to Oxford. But it was a fine performance right from the start. There was some really mature rowing from much younger guys. 3 undergraduates there in the boat.
Well, in the echoes beneath Chiswick Bridge, they collapse, but it is a joyful collapse for Alec Dent, for Ben Myers, for Moritz Hafner. And the cries of celebration are the cruelest sound for Cambridge, because they were utterly outclassed today. Constantine Laludis raises his arm, and all the smiles for Cambridge. The picture says it all.
For Cambridge, a shock, because they did see themselves as favourites. They were very confident. They had 6 men back from last year's boat race and Goldie wins, victories from last year. But I think they underestimated how tough it was, that race that they had.
Moritz Hafner is clambering his way forward over George Whittaker and Simon Hislop, 2 men who have, this is their one and only chance for boat race glory, and my, how they have taken it. And a high 5, a low 5 with Sam Winterlevy, the Cox. But it is the contrast, it's the joy and the celebration of Oxford, and it is that shock from Cambridge, because they have been a joyful crew throughout the season, and they had that victory last year, 3 of them did, but today it is nothing.
Moritz Hafner can walk up and down the boat like that because he's very light. He's able just to, he's very athletic.
Well, a look at the Cambridge crew and thoughts from a former Cambridge president in Wayne Pommen.
They'll be very disappointed, and I agree with what Dan was saying about how they'll be shocked. I mean, the Oxford crew, they were lighter, they were less experienced. Cambridge have been listening to this talk all year about how they were favorites, and of course they try to ignore that. But, you know, Oxford did an amazing job, broke the race open on them very quickly up around Hammersmith, and so you can just see the look of shock on the face of the Cambridge guys right now.
As you think about the big margins of victory in recent times. Well, Oxford had a 6th length victory in 2008. That was dreadful weather, though, a very slow time. Cambridge 2004, 6 lengths, but it's very rare in these modern times when the coaching's so good and the crews are so professionally drilled that you have a victory as emphatic as that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this was around 4 lengths. I think it was about 12, 13 seconds, and it was just over 4 lengths. It's a good victory and a very steady, solid performance right the way through. It was just very, very well drilled. All credit to Sean Bowden for putting together a less experienced crew. Only one man remaining from last year, so he had to knit a whole new group of people together into a cohesive boat, and it's worked brilliantly for him.
Arms aloft from the Cambridge 8 and the Cox. Ben Miles, Alec Dent, Ben Ellison in the white cap, and Carl Hudspeth. And they come in now to the Mortlake Anglian and Alpha Boat Club, and it is a place of further celebration. The celebrations will go on for a long, long time. And tired limbs paddle them into shore. But waiting for them will be the ISIS crew, who of course won the reserve race as well. So it's been a double for Oxford today, and a double of lighter crews beating the heavier, perhaps more fancied crews.
Yes, that ISIS victory really set the tone, because it was again unexpected, and I think this Oxford squad has had a lot of very quiet determination about the way they've approached their job this year.
And Cambridge sit and respectfully wait, lost in their own painful thoughts for Oxford to land, and then they will come in for a much more subdued reception. But ISIS, after they win, they have to wait with the wellies. So more hugs of celebration from ISIS to the Blue Boat crew, and some of those ISIS crew members no doubt will be in